and welcome to another beautiful episode on Catholic Faith Firm, and I'm your host, Nonso. Today we'll be talking about interpretation of dreams. You know, most often than not, people are either too literal or too spiritual with interpretation of dreams. But hey, this is not me saying that you don't have to go to your man of God or your pastor or your priest whenever you are seeking direction or you don't understand a dream. You get? And joining my discussion today will be Damilola Fumilayo, and you'll be meeting the guests when we come back from a short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is Catholic Faith Firm, and I'm Nonso, your host. And today we'll be talking about interpretation of dreams. Like I said earlier, my guest today is Damilola Fumilayo. Welcome. I'm so happy that you honored my invitation. How did it feel like for you?
Well, I told you I was a tad bit nervous, right? But then I had a conversation with, our mutual, and then she was like, oh, it's just a easy breezy conversation, nothing too serious. So I was like, oh, yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, let's dive into our discussion now. So what do you think, what are dreams?
Okay, so, everybody knows, or we should know what dreaming is, or where dreams stem from. So dreaming naturally is a communication between our conscious mind and our unconscious mind.
Okay.
That is the part of us that we are very aware of. And, when you're sleeping, you're not really aware of whatever it is that is going on in your environment or in your mind. You're just gone. So all of that communication, that back and forth, is dreaming, right? And a dream itself stems from our thoughts, our sensations, images, right? Occurring in our mind when we sleep. So that's all of what dreaming is about. It's not too spooky, as most people would always like to see it. But yeah, that's pretty much what dreams are.
So do you think that there's every dream you have, there's usually a connection between the reality and then the dream itself?
Yes. More often, right? I don't think I've ever, encountered maybe a real case scenario where dreams and dreams are so far out of, reality.
Okay.
Right? So it's always an interaction between what you're aware of and what you're not aware of when you're sleeping.
So you just spoke about what you're not aware of. That's your what you're aware of, not aware of. So your subconscious mind or your unconscious mind, can you tell us a bit about that?
So your unconscious mind, is more of... So your conscious mind, right, starting from that, is the seat of your emotions, your mental, your intellectual faculties. And your unconscious mind is where all of those images, all of those thoughts, all of the things, information you've interacted with throughout your day, even the music that you've heard is, stored, right? So it's like a storage space, right, for all of the things that have happened during the day. That's why you can see that during your day, you might have just heard this music. You didn't really pay much attention to it, but all of a sudden it just pops up. And then you just start humming it and you're like, oh, where did I get this from? But it's like a part of us that stores like an internal memory, more or less, just to give that vivid picture. Yeah.
So people have even said interpreting of dreams give us better insight about our lives. Because I know I read a story once of a guy who he was drunk, then he committed a crime, but he didn't know what it was about. He went on about his life for a very long time. And then when he watched the news, he saw the news and then he saw that, a couple were murdered and all that. Then he started having recurring dreams from there, dreaming about, he killed somebody, but he didn't know, but he just thought it was a dream. But as soon as he saw that news, he knew that he was involved in this. So do you think that when you interpret your dreams, it helps you unlock things that you already experienced or things about yourself?
Yes, I totally agree, because dreams help us to create a sense of completeness, right? So it helps us to piece together reality so that they are not like a lot of moving parts. For some people, even experts say that dreams are an avenue for us to deal with trauma. So there might be unresolved issues or traumatic experiences that we're unable to fully express when we are, in this our conscious state. But when you're dreaming, it creates sort of like a safe space for you to properly deal with those things, because there's nothing happening. You're not even aware. It's just the emotions and thoughts flying all over the place. So yes. Dreaming helps us to unravel whatever it is that is going in our lives. It helps us to, settle unresolved trauma and conflict, and even deal with emotional things in a sort of like safe space.
I like where we're heading now, but we'll have to go on this short break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Catholic Faith Forum, and together with Dami, I'm discussing interpretation of dreams. So how important are dreams to us as human beings?
So I would say they are really important because, like I said, you need to have that level of clarity of what's going on inside, right? So an average human being dreams at least 6 times.
Are you
like
serious?
six different levels of dreams happen when you sleep, but people only remember maybe 1 or 2, right? And then the most part of our dreams happen at the towards the very early hours of the morning. So between 1 a.m., 3 a.m., that's when you're dreaming more, right? Because that's when you're smack dab and you can't really remember anything that is happening. So it's very important because they help us to piece together what is happening around us. And it, like I said, it also creates this sense of wholeness. It makes you feel like you're complete when you're able to make meaning, right, to the things that you dream about.
And I know that I spoke about recurring dreams earlier. So trying to piece it back to psychology, what does this do for us as humans?
So recurring dreams are not standalone. Like I said, nothing about dreaming is an isolated event.
Okay.
Right? So your dreams have a trigger. Your dreams are triggered by your thoughts. They are triggered by your emotions. They are triggered by the way you interact with the world around you, and how all of that is able to, find its way into your unconscious mind when you sleep. So if, for example, you are exposing yourself to series and series of, thought patterns, perhaps those things might be anxiety, provoking, right? If you're exposing yourself to those level of thoughts per time, psychologists will tell you that it might, now have an effect called recurring dreams, because you've been exposing yourself to that over and over and over again. Because dreams don't just happen. It comes as a dream itself is an image that is coming as a result of a thought, something you have thought about, something that is now playing in images and sensations when you sleep.
Nice. I like where you put it there. So now let's think about different kinds of dreams. What are the different? You spoke about different levels of dreams when we're sleeping. So what are these kinds of dreams that we can have?
So there are recurring dreams, like you mentioned. Those are dreams that persist. So you have this dream consecutively, and you can always remember them. So there are also lucid dreams. Lucid is in a state where you are almost aware of what is happening, right? So that's why there are some people that if they narrate their dream experience, it can be very dramatic. So they can tell you, and I was going, and I saw, and I blah blah. So
and
I'm not even
dreams
going.
You don't even understand. You know what's happening.
So yes. So in that state, there's a state where you can be lucid. You can be a bit aware of what is going on. Some part of sleepwalking is a lucid dream, right? When you are not physically, like totally physically, in tune with what is happening, but then you are doing the motions. You're working, you're talking, you're knocking on an abstract door, and all of that. So they are lucid dream. And then there are also some very vivid dreams. Some people sleep and they say they dream, but then they can't remember. Another form of dream is a very vivid dream, when it's like smack dab, you wake up and then you can paint a picture of everything that happened while you were asleep. So those are some of like the most common part of dreams that we have.
Now let's talk about, I like what you just mentioned, vivid dreams, and I'm trying to relate it back to visions. So then what do you then say is so what do you then say is the connection between dreams and vision, or are they different things entirely?
So far what I've seen as a vision, most visions happen not when you are asleep. Dreaming is only tied, only if we're talking about, dreams of, I dream of a wishful thinking sort of like dream, and vision and all of that. Those are also called dreams. But dreaming is only going to happen when you're asleep, right? But visions are, most of the times that I've seen visions explained, and even, studying psychology journals and texts, you would see that visions are things that are happening when the person is, well aware of what is
Aware and
happening
awake,
in their
okay.
environment when they are awake, right? So visions can, there's a part of psychology that is called, a part of visioning also that is called catharsis, where, you are trying to help somebody resolve maybe a childhood trauma. And then they get to this peak period where they come face to face with perhaps the villain or the opponent, that thing that they have to surmount, right, to get to the next level, which is the expected outcome of, oh, I'm out of this state, right? So it's like a vision. So it takes them back into when they were a child, right? So at that state, they go back 20 years, 30 years ago when they were kids, and they begin to relive all of these things. So that's also like a vision. A vision can also be something that you expect to happen. Because, most of the times, the way I've interacted with vision is always when Christians say, oh,
Yes,
I had a
exactly.
vision. And then a vision mostly is always of things that are to come.
Yes, definitely.
A dream is of things that are past and things that are present. Only when it is Holy Spirit led and infused, that is when it is of things that are to come. We have examples scattered all over scriptures. David dreamt, Joseph dreamt, all of these guys dreamt, and it was always about something futuristic, right? Yeah.
I like the way you've taken it away from, now we have taken it away from just the normal. We're moving into spiritual things. So I know that a lot of people, especially in this climate, when we have dreams, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, if I don't understand. I've even had my own experience. I had a dream where I couldn't explain it. I didn't just understand. And it felt, because I felt like when you say a vision, I can feel like, oh, maybe it's something that is to come. But in this case, I felt it like it happened to me. I felt it lucidly, what will I say, vividly. Like it felt like someone hit my head with something. And I felt it, but I didn't understand what kind of dream that was. And then I didn't think, the first thought that came to mind was, no, so go to a psychologist. But then I wanted to pray about it. I wanted to know. God is the ultimate psychologist you can ever seek out for. So I just went to actually say, okay, let me pray about this. Let me seek that knowledge again. So how do you think people can go about in trying to find interpretation to that dream? But I want you to hold that thought there. We'll come back after this short break. Let's learn a little about this saint. Stay with us.
Today, we are going to be taking a look at the lives of the 40 martyrs of Sebast. After 316, the Emperor Licinius decreed a persecution of Christians in the East. He threatened death if they failed to renounce their faith. In 320, 40 young Christian Roman soldiers refused to sacrifice to idols and were tried before the tribunal at Sebast, Cappadocia. The governor tried threats, bribery, and torture to persuade the young men, but they stood firm. He put the 40 in prison, where it is said that Christ appeared and encouraged them to persevere. Incensed by the soldiers' obstinacy, the governor ordered that they be stripped and left to die standing on a frozen lake. He arranged a fire and a warm bath on the shore to tempt them to apostatize. All 40 signed a will, drafted by St. Meletius, the youngest, that expressed their faith, unity, and courage. The young men did not wait to be stripped, but removed their clothes themselves. And together they prayed, Lord, we are 40 engaged in this contest. Grant that 40 may receive crowns, and that we may not fall short of that sacred number. After one night's ordeal, however, one soldier caved, but died of extreme heat in the bath, losing his martyr's crown. But an off-duty guard, prompted by the martyr's courage and a dream, professed himself a Christian and took his place, thus preserving their number. After 3 days, the governor had the survivors' limbs broken and their bodies burned. Officials hoped that young Meletius would save himself, but his mother herself lifted him onto the wagon, not wanting him to lose his prize. The governor had the ashes of the 40 martyrs scattered into a river, but Christians secured some that became treasured relics, inspiring many throughout the Middle Ages. Their feast day is on the 10th of March.
Welcome back. This is still Catholic Faith Forum, and we're still talking about interpretation of dreams. So, back to my questions now. How should people go about when they want to interpret their dreams? What should they do?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that somebody more senior told me is to journal your dreams.
Yeah, I do that too.
So when you have a dream and you can remember, it doesn't even have to be the full picture, bits and pieces here and there. Journal it, write it down somewhere. He has like a journal, like series of books that he has been packing about over the years. So you tell you dreams as far back as I had this dream in 2019. I had this dream in 2003.
Wow, that's
right.
great.
So he has been doing that religiously, and that's what a lot of us need to also do. So because you would more often than not, most of the things you dream about would also it would always reoccur. It might not reoccur in the intensity of recurring dreams when you keep having like this vivid image popping over and over again, but because of how we live and interact with the world, your thought patterns might evolve, but it doesn't mean that you would naturally change your form. Right. So you might see that you dreamt of something last year. Next year, when you're in like perhaps the same space or something jogs your memory of it, you might sleep and have the same type of dream. Right. So that's why it's also very important to journal your dream. Another thing that is also very important about interpreting your dream is analyze every aspect of a dream. That's why I gave like the backstory of where dreams start from. Dreams don't just happen. That's what a lot of people think, that, oh, I slept and I dreamt and I saw one woman, she was carrying a calabash and a pot. Dreams don't just happen. A friend of mine was watching this movie. And then in the movie, there was a lot of bloodshed, people killing each other. And then that same night, she slept and, she had a very terrible dream, a nightmare even. And in that dream, she saw somebody shooting the head of another person off. And then she woke up and she was scared and all of that. But then she could tie it to the movie that she saw.
Exactly.
Right? So that is why it's very important to consider all the elements of a dream. So when you're asking somebody, tell me your dream, don't just ask them, don't just ask them to tell you what they dreamt about. Tell me about your day. The days leading up onto this event. What were the things that happened? What are the things that you can remember, right? What were the level of conversations that happened in your mind and in your interaction with the world? Then consider all of those elements in the dream, and then that way you'll be able to properly give an interpretation to whatever it is that you're dreaming about.
Okay, because I know that when people try to find meanings to their dreams, I mean, I feel to myself now that they might be going on an endless cycle, a journey where they're all about their dreams. Meanwhile, you're actually living out a reality already. So do you think that there can be an implication when you go about just looking at finding meanings to your dreams and neglecting that part of reality where you're living?
Yeah, so we've already seen it playing out in our time, and then it hasn't been playing out as far back as we can remember. That's why you have all these soothsayers. You have people that will tell you that, pick a card, right? So because sometimes dreams can be anxiety provoking, so it can trigger some level of emotions in you that you feel anxious. Oh, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? And all of that. But then the thing about dreams is that, first of all, calm down. If you can, like I said, journal it, and then begin to, in your own mind, take backward movements into your day. Try to understand what were the things that have happened, because like I said in dreaming, dreams don't just happen. It's an interaction. There's a communication between someone, your consciousness, and your unconsciousness. They are saying something to each other. So try to piece the dots before you go everywhere. And if you do that and you still don't find the help that you need, talk to somebody about it. There's always the talk therapy. So talk to someone. I'm not talking about a shrink or a psychologist or whatever it is that you call them, but talk to somebody about it.
Could be your friend,
your
family.
Might even be somebody older, somebody elderly, wiser. So you might also see that, having interactions around it will just help to demystify some of the, high emotions.
Okay, so I'm thinking to myself now, or let me think out loud now. Can dreams be misleading, or is it the interpretation of the dream that is misleading?
The interpretation of the dreams. The interpretation of the dreams.
Not the dream. I know people have said, oh, I dreamt about this, and then you are waiting for it to happen and it doesn't happen.
And that's so because people, that's why I keep emphasizing it. People consider dreaming as an outer body experience. But it is tied to you. It is not an isolated event. It is your thoughts. It is your images, your imagination. It is your emotions that have found a way into your unconscious mind that is now producing those series of images that you see in your dreams.
So apart from journaling now and speaking to people, do you think there are other things that one can do to actually find meaning to dreams that are puzzling to them?
So journaling can be any form. You can also talk to people. You can consider different elements of your dream. And then the most important one is actually considering all the elements of your dream. So the elements of your dream, like I said, because the unconscious mind is like a storage space, it might mean that whatever it is that is happening now is a function of thoughts, emotions that have been unresolved 3, 4, 5 years, 20 years ago. So when it's puzzling, right? So you need to maybe take a trip down memory lane, just try to piece it together.
Try to figure out what has gone on.
What has gone on,
what have you
right?
done? Where did you go? Who did you speak
who
to?
did you interact with? And then we also need to understand that our mind is very permeable.
Exactly.
It's the most permeable part of our entire being, right? So there are some times that you might even be exposing yourself to information involuntarily, like you're just there, exposing yourself to everything and anything. So another way that you can help to streamline what you're thinking about, what you're dreaming about, is also to watch it, right? Be very cautious about your environment, your thoughts, right? Your imaginations, don't be anxious, because dreams you don't just have nightmares, you don't just have all of these things. My friend could tie it to a movie, you can tie it to something else that might not be all that deep.
I remember the Reverend Father once, when I was younger, that would say, if you have a nightmare, check your room. Your room is probably dirty. Actually, and maybe you have cobwebs around, or you have something that is making your body uncomfortable, so you're just interpreting in your own dream. So you just check your outer environment, even as much as you're trying to figure out all the things you've done in your life. Where are you living? Check your space, check the people around you, and then you might actually just find the meaning. But now I also want to ask the final question for this episode will be, what's the space of faith in interpretation of dreams, especially when people like Christians now.
Yeah.
What should a Christian do? I mean, if I have a dream that is so puzzling, I'm going to see a shrink or a psychologist, and then the person is not just giving me the answer I want, what should I do then?
I think the first rule of thumb should be do not fear.
I love that, actually.
So anything that creates fear within you, trust me, you're on your way out, right? It's just downhill from there, emotions everywhere. So the first rule of thumb is do not fear, right? Faith is understanding who and whose you are, right? So you know that regardless of whatever it is that happens, you're still grounded in God. So don't fear, right? If it's a dream, and that's how I see it, if it's a dream, whatever it is, and if you want to really make interpretation of it, if it's something recurring, you would have been able to journal it down.
Yes.
Right. And then we have scriptures. Before you go to your pastor or whatever, scriptures itself have a life force. There's a spirit in scripture. And this our mind that I'm talking about, there's this spiritual mind. You should be spiritually minded as a believer. So the first thing the Holy Spirit comes to do in you when you have those sort of anxiety-provoking or, scary dreams is to create a sense of calm
and give you...
Yes, and give you peace.
Peace, yes.
Because they that are spiritually minded have peace.
Exactly.
Right? So you have peace, regardless of whatever it is that you saw in your dream, you have a sense of peace. And then the Holy Spirit is also going to help you interpret dreams.
Yeah.
So you would also ask the Holy Spirit, this thing that I have seen, I do not understand. Can you please help me?
Yeah, I love this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. It was absolutely amazing and I loved it. You know how we did on this? We'll have to move to the Know Your Faith segment of the show. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, my name is Chima, and on today's episode of KYF, we will be answering the question, why does the priest kiss the altar? Before celebrating every mass, the priest and deacon approach the altar and kiss it. To some, this practice seems rather odd, as altars are material objects of stone or wood and don't seem to warrant any particular reverence. So why do they do this? Today we are going to learn why they do this and the significance behind this custom. I will first let you know that it is an ancient custom, and kissing holy and sacred objects has been part of various world religions for thousands of years. The practice comes from cultures where the kiss was viewed as a sign of respect or used as a greeting and was naturally applied to objects that represented the divine. Outside of pagan worship, there also grew a tradition in some cultures, such as the Roman culture, of kissing the dinner table at special occasions. As Christians developed the liturgy, which means way of worship, they adopted customs from their own culture and gave them new significance. Kissing the altar was one of them and was quickly attached to the actions of the priest at Mass. The Mass begins with the procession, and when all those serving at that Mass get to the altar, they genuflect, and then the priest and deacon kiss the altar in an act of veneration. The altar receives its importance in connection with the holy sacrifice of the Mass that is celebrated upon it. It has been set aside for this purpose, and the bishop consecrates it when it is installed in a new church. The ceremony of consecration mimics in some ways the baptism of a new Christian, as the bishop uses holy oils to bless the altar and vests it with a white garment after the prayers have been completed. Kissing the altar can then be viewed as honoring the special role it has in the liturgy and the consecration it was given by the bishop. Symbolically, the altar is often said to represent Jesus Christ, the cornerstone of the church, as we are told in Ephesians 2 verse 20. During the history of the liturgy, the priest would sometimes kiss the altar before blessing the people, symbolizing how the blessing came from God and not the priest. Additionally, over time, relics of saints were inserted into the altar, and when the priest kisses the altar, he would be kissing the relics as well. So while it is true that altars are material objects, they have been set apart for a specific purpose, and kissing the altar recognizes its privileged role and relation to the divine sacrifice of Jesus Christ. So now you know why kissing the altar is an important part of the Mass. If you have any questions on it, we're still happy to answer you. Are there any questions you also wanted to ask? You have an opportunity now to contribute to our show by asking that question in our comment section below. If it is something we have not treated yet, we will be glad to answer you in another video of Know Your Faith. Don't forget to check out other episodes of the show here on YouTube at Dominican Media Presents. Subscribe to our channel, like and share our content with others. Until the next video, be bold and be Catholic.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for that Know Your Faith team. It's been a beautiful one so far with Dami, and I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. So to end the show, you know that you can watch this episode and other episodes on our YouTube channel at Dominican Media Present. Also, please send us your donations and support, and you can do that by sending us an email or calling the phone number on your screen below. Kindly also send us whatever message you want to send us or any suggestion on our social media platforms at CFF on TV. Until next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirts.